Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, to this new video on Azure. And today's session, I'll show you how you can migrate your on-prem database to the SQL Server. So as you know that there is a lot of demand for moving the database from on-prem to the cloud because of many reasons. In case you move that, you get automatic patching. It's all gets already automatic backed up. So there are various reasons why you need to move the database. And obviously, there are a lot of companies they want to have all this onus on the public cloud vendors to manage their instances, right? So sometimes it can get a little bit tricky. So hopefully this session will help you to at least go through some steps how to migrate your on-prem information or on-prem database to the cloud infrastructure. So for this demonstration, I have a database with the name FirstDB, as you can see on the screen. I'm logged into the SSMS and I have a couple of tables. So this is a very small database. So this is just for testing purpose and to give you an idea about the steps involved in that, and we'll go through that. So let's look at the first step. So what you can do is, in order to migrate that, you can just highlight your database, right click, and under the task, you can go to export data to your application, and this will open a wizard for you, which you can go to next. And on this page, you can export this database to your on-prem computer or local computer, or you can directly go to Microsoft Azure. Now, in case you want to save this to the Microsoft Azure, you need to have a storage account and you need to have a container in which that information will be stored. But what we will do is, for this demonstration, I'll save this on my local computer. So save it on the local disk, go to browse, go to desktop, and I will name this I'll just name it, let's say, first, whatever is the name right now. So it's first DB. We'll save it on a local computer and select next. It will give you to verify specific settings and go to finish. So this was completed successfully, so I can close this. And if I go to my on-prem on my local computer, you will see that I have this database on my local disk. So let's go back to the Azure side now, and the first thing I want to configure is to create a resource group. So let's go to resource group, go to add, because anything that you deploy in within Azure has to be within a resource group. It is like a logical container in which all the information is stored, and I'll give the name for this resource group cloud database resource group, and select your subscription and under what location you want to create this. You can either pin this to dashboard, and if I refresh, you will see that cloud database resource group is here. Now let's go inside this, and as you can see, I don't have any information because this is a brand new resource group that I've created. So what I can do is I can go to create a resource. I can do a quick search for SQL database, go to create, and in this window will specify the name for the database. So let's name it cloud database, and we'll deploy this in the resource group that we created, which is cloud dbrg. Under the select source, it is a blank database, so that's what we'll be selecting. And under the server, let's configure the required setting, which will be the server name. So this is the name that we'll be using to connect to that specific server. So let me say it is I'm going to name it IT Simplified if it is available. Yes, it is available, and provide the admin name. Pick your location, and if you want you can configure advanced threat protection and go to select. And in this step you can either select SQL Elastic Pool if you want. So as you know that if you want to deploy SQL Server on the platform as a service, which we'll be doing in this case, you can either use a single database, Elastic Pool, or even managed instances in certain cases. That will depend upon what kind of power, what can compute basically you'll be using. But for this demonstration, I'll be deploying a single database, so I don't need any elastic pool in this. And when we don't use that, so for the single database also there is a pricing tier, so you can go from S0, so you can go from basic, standard, premium, so there are different pricing for that. And then you have to deal with DTUs or data transactional unit, and what is the maximum data size you want. So that will be part of the planning discussion when you're trying to move your databases from on-prem to the cloud. Microsoft has also certain tools that you can run on-prem. This is a script that you can run, and it will generate a report and basically tell you what and how many DTUs. Basically, it's a combination of processing power and RAM that you'll be needing for that specific database that you have on-prem. So I can move this bar if you want, so that gives me more compute power, but in our case I'm going to pick S0 because I don't want to consume incur that many charges. And for the database size, even 100 MB will be enough for us, because we have very small database. But just to be on a safer side, I will move this to say 1 gig and apply. So basic, I can choose and apply in this case, and click on create. The deployment process has started. If I expand my notification, it is getting deployed. I can also go to the resource group and see what is happening. So it's under my resource group with the name CloudDB RG, and soon I should see some activity going on here. So you see I have the SQL Server with the name IT Simplified, which we specified. I am also now waiting for the database, which we won't be needing, but that's part of the configuration. But once that appears over here, we can just go and delete this, because our idea is to import the database from our on-prem location. So let's wait for that to appear. Okay, so deployment was successful, and as you can see that Cloud DB has appeared over here. I can go inside this cloud database and I can just delete this because I don't need this database because we'll be importing, as I mentioned. Okay, so it was removed successfully. So let's go inside our SQL server. And what I want to do now is I need to just change certain firewall settings because I want to allow my local machine to get access to this instance. So as you can see that this client IP address, I want to add this. So you can go to add client IP and save this so that I can access this from my local machine. So that was done successfully, so we are good. And then you can go to, I can close this. And if I go under the properties, I can just grab the server name, ID simplified, and what I'll do is I will just connect this through my management studio. So go to the database engine, write this and provide the appropriate credential that we gave while deploying that server on the Azure side and connect. So as you can see here, I have now connection to that instance which is running in Azure. So what we want to do is now we want to import that service from our local computer. So you can right click on the database. So as you can see, right now I don't have any database because this is a new instance that we created basically to import our on-prem database with the name FirstDB. So you can right click on the database and you have this option of import data tier application. So you can click on this and again you'll get a window on which you can select next. And you can see that it is asking you to import from the local disk because that is where our database is. And if I remember, it was with the name, I think, first database. Yeah, that's the one, and click open. So after that is selected, you can select next, and it will give you the information about that this operation will create a SQL database from this file that we have saved and to this server, and the name of the database will be FirstDB. And under the Microsoft Azure SQL database, you can select now, so you need to specify that you want that to be basic. You just want to make sure that you don't incur charges in case you're using for test and dev, but you will see that you have different options, and all these options basically give you different kind of compute power. So it's a combination of compute and RAM, and what the size of the database basically you want, right? So I want this to be basic, and the maximum database size 1 gig is okay with me. Service objective basic, that's fine, and click next. And click on finish. So basically what it's doing right now is that it's importing the database from our on-prem infrastructure to the Azure instance, and hopefully we'll get the successful notification in this. So as you can see that the operation was completed successfully. Now I can close this window, and now you will see under the IT simplified database I have my first database. And if I expand this and go to the tables, I should have information about the tables too. So let me just wait for this to open. And here you go, the employee info is here, which is similar to the way it was on-prem. So that's great. So these are the steps that you need to be aware of when you're trying to migrate your on-prem database to Azure. I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.